Hello mates, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Tekla, and in today's tutorial I am going to be showing you how I was able to achieve this beautiful dress right on your screen. The middle one is the inspiration, while the ones on the side is the recreation. So if this sounds like something that you want to learn, then go ahead now, like this video, subscribe, and remember to turn on your notification bells so that you will be the very first person to know when I upload new tutorials. So for this tutorial, we are going to do both the pattern drafting and then the cutting and stitching tutorial just in this video. I know that on a normal we would have divided it, but for this particular tutorial now, we are going to do everything here so that you learn it once. So for this tutorial, on my pattern paper, I've already marked out my vertical measurement, my chest line, my bust point, my underbust, and then my waist. My shoulder to my chest line, my shoulder to my bust point, my underbust, and then my waist. Remember that our chest line is 2 inches above our bust point. Then I also divided my bust width, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I divided it into 2 to give me 4, which is what I marked. And then on that 4, I went out by 2 inches on the side, on the waist, and on the underbust, which I connected to my bust point. You can also decide to take the 2 inches, 1 inch on the left side and 1 inch on the right side. Like the 2 inches that I took out, you can just do it on both sides of the 4 inches dart. So for me, I did it on one side. Then the neck width will be working with 3.5, and then I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. And then on that place that I marked the shoulder slope, I also divided it into 2, which I just connected to my bust point. Hope you are able to understand that. So this particular place I'm shading out the darts, you can decide to take out 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on the center side. So the bust I am working with is bust 40, divided by 4 is 10. I marked it on my bust point and on my chest line. Then I also divided my waist by 4. And then I also went ahead to mark it on my waistline, just the way you can see me do. Then I added back the 2 inches dart that I took. Please always remember to add back your dart measurement or your dart allowance. So I added it back. Then I'm going to go ahead now and then take my armhole curve, of course. So you can see that our front pattern is already coming together. Then on my bust point, I'm going to come down by 1/4 of an inch, which is 1 inch and 1 line. And then that is going to serve as my bust point dart. You can see the way I took that away so that it doesn't have bulge on the bust part or on the armhole part. That is why I took that out. I would also like to say that this pattern paper is folded into 2, right? So this place, you can see that this pattern paper is folded into 2. So for this particular bust tutorial, we need it on fold. I'm not just cutting it single. So that same thing that I did on the other side, I just went ahead to reconnect the lines on this side as well. You can see that it is still the same thing. So please, when you are cutting this out, remember to cut it on your fold. So that side is my right pattern and this side is my left pattern, just the way you have your left and right on your body. So do not forget to label it so that you will not be able to forget anything. So I just went ahead to open that up. Now I'm going to determine how open I want my neck part to be. For me, on the center part, I came up by 3.5. You can decide to come up by 4. I think the 3.5 I came up with was a little bit low. So for you, you can come up by 4 on the middle part. Then I'm going to connect it to the tip of my shoulder. On this particular point where I am going to connect it to the tip of my shoulder, you can also decide that you want to take away 1 inch from that shoulder part. Instead of connecting it directly to the tip of the shoulder, just go in by 1 inch on the shoulder if you want the yoke to be more open. So from this part now, I am now going to come to my bust point and I'm going to come up by 1 inch Then I am going to come in by about 2 inches. Even if you don't understand this thing I'm saying, please just focus on your screen, focus on the pattern paper. So once I do that, I am now going to connect the lines. So on the armhole part of my right pattern, I just did a curve, and then you can see the way I'm using my curved ruler to just get the neckline. So just take note of the measurements that I am taking and all of that. So I am just going to go ahead now and then connect that together. Then, are you seeing the way I am doing it? So just try to find a particular way that works for you. You can even decide to do another shape outside this one that we are doing. Then at this point, on that place that I marked, I connected my shoulder slope and my bust points. I came up by about 2.5 inches, but for you, you can come up by 3. I think the 2.5 inches I came up with was a little bit low, so you can just come up by 3, and then you can see the way I was just tracing that out to connect the lines together. You can decide to take the lines away from your neckline, but for me, I just wanted to work with this. So on this place the arrow is showing, you can decide to go out by 1 inch so that your shoulder, your yoke will be more open. I hope you were able to understand that. So at this point, I'm just going to cut out some parts so that we continue. So guys, have you watched up to this point? Please go ahead now and click that like button so that YouTube can be able to show these videos to other tailors like you and I, so that they can also be able to learn. So now that you have liked this video, let's continue our tutorial. So if this is your first time coming to my channel, you are welcome, and you can also do well to check other tutorials on the channel. They are very valuable for your skill. So on that place that I marked my bust point darts, remember that I came in by 1/4 of an inch on my bust point. So I just cut it open, reason being that we are going to close up that dart. And the reason why we added that dart in the first place is so that our clothes does not have any bulge on the armhole. So if you have any masking tape, you can just use it and tape it down. And then for me, I'm going to just use gum and hold it together. So just watch the way I am folding it, and then I will use gum and fold it together. And also remember that each time you take out your bust point dart, you are supposed to reconnect the lines, because everly the lines are going to shift, and then you just have to reconnect it. And then I will also do the same thing on the other side as well. So that is just what you can see me do. And also notice that before you can be able to close up these darts, please make sure that your shoulder dart is open. Are you seeing that that line that connected my bust point to my shoulder is open? Because one thing I've noticed in my experience is that if you do not open it, you will not be able to close up this bust dart very well, and you will now start having a little problem. So I first went ahead to cut out the other side of my shoulder, which was divided into two by my shoulder dart, and then I'm just going to use my gum to gum that back so that it will look like one piece of the shoulder. Please kindly note that I first did this before I continued with the cutting. Do not forget to tape it together so you don't throw it away. Remember to gum that part first so that you don't make the mistake of forgetting it and then you now go ahead to cut on your fabric. So you can see the way I've cut out that part. This particular shoulder part I'm cutting now, you can just come in a little bit by 1 inch towards your shoulder line so that your neck will be more open. I noticed that after I was done creating the tutorial. But then, of course, just the way you saw, it still came out really nice and beautiful. So at this point, our front pattern is ready. And notice that that place that has a deeper neckline is on my right side. That is the main reason why I labeled my pattern paper. So please make sure you do not forget this, that the deeper part is on your right side, and then the up part is the part that is not that deep is on your left side. So please do not forget. So right now we are going to go ahead and then mark the back pattern. You can see just the way I've marked my vertical measurements. My chest line is always 2 inches above my bust point. Like a size 12. So if you're like size 10, you can use 1.5. And then so at first, when I marked this shoulder, I forgot to add the zipper allowance. So I just went ahead to add my zip allowance. What I used for my zip allowance on this dress is 2 inches. So I just went ahead to extend my shoulder just the way you can see me marking. So after extending it, I am going to go ahead and then mark out the first line. So just ignore that line and pretend that it does not exist. Right now, let's write down. So this right here is my zipper allowance. And then we are now going to mark out our nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is my bust span. And that is just what you can see me marking. And then I connected it from my bust point to my waistline. And on both sides of my waistline, I'm going to take out half inch. Now, after not making this dress, there's something I noticed. I noticed that it has a little bulk on the back, and in a minute I'm going to show you the reason why that bulk was there. So you know that your shoulder to your half length for your front is not the same thing as your shoulder to your half length from the back. So assuming your shoulder to half length from the front is 16, on your back part make it only 15. But I mistakenly marked just exactly the same thing, even though I took it out on the zip. So I was now trying to take the bust point dart in order to help that. So first things first, I went ahead to put my measurements, and then I'm going to show you just this thing that I was trying to explain. So I'm going to go ahead and then connect that line. And also remember that the same measurement that you impute on your bust point is the same thing you are going to impute on your chest line as well before connecting your armhole. So at this point, I came down by that same 1/4 of an inch on my bust point dart. So in order to avoid this totally, just mark minus 1 inch from the length of your half length, like from your shoulder to your waist. Then just use that for your back measurement instead of your full length. So on the waist part of this back pattern, I came in by about half inch or 3/4 of an inch in order to help my zip or my zipper to relax. That is just what I was trying to do. So on that part, I came in by about 1 inch. Then I went ahead to open my bust point dart, and I am also going to go ahead and then use gum to gum it just the same way. Then for the neckline, for the neck width, I still use that same 3.5 that we used for the front. Then I came down by about 1.5. I didn't want to come down by 1 inch only because of the yoke line. So that is just for the neckline at the moment. Then I'm going to go ahead and tape my bust points together, and then I'm going to reconnect the line. So this was when I noticed that this back is going to have bulk, but I just added a shoulder dart, like a dart from the waist to the shoulder after I was done, and then it was cleared out. So basically this is just it for the back pattern. So I am going to go ahead and then cut this out. I also took out about 1 inch from the center part of my back pattern so that my zip will be able to relax very well, so that your zip does not have bulk at the back. So I'm going to go ahead now to cut. So I just want to use this opportunity to let you all know that our online class is still ongoing on transparent corsets, how to run a profitable business, fashion business. You can also learn how to structure your business with us. The class is ongoing currently, and it has been a very detailed class, very impactful. Then we also have a content calendar group where we share tasks weekly, on how you can run your fashion business in order to attract clients. This new year, you need to make your business to be more profitable, and then that is just it. So I'll leave the link to my WhatsApp in the description box. All you have to do is click that link and it will direct you to my WhatsApp for more inquiries. So I went ahead to cut on my fabric. I just added ½ inch round, and on the side part I added 1 inch. Are you seeing all the allowance that I added? If you are the type that cannot join with only ½ inch, please go ahead and add the allowance you use in joining, because I noticed that there are people that join with up to like 3/4 of an inch. So any allowance that you use in joining, just do that. Then you are going to cut this on your fabric, and then you are also going to cut it on your lining. And this particular piece, front part, you are going to cut it single, not double. It's only the back that you are going to cut double, and then the lining as well. So right now I am going to go ahead and cut out my pad, because I had to add pads to this so that the breast part can be able to stand well. This is called a warden. So you can decide to use the soft warden, the thick warden, or the foamy warden. If the client you are working with does not really have breast, then you use the foam one. If they have big breasts, use the very strong one. And then if it is just normal, just use the normal soft wording that people use for their clothes. So, and for this tutorial, my wording stopped on the underbust. You know that there are some wording that extends to the waist, just to give the waist a more structured look. But for me, I decided to stop at the underbust. This is just a personal preference. You can decide to do otherwise. Maybe your wording can stop at the waist. And then my wording also stopped on my chest line, which is 2 inches above my bust point. You can decide to come up by 2.5, or you can just decide to leave ½ inch where you are going to use to join to your lining. So for me, I just came up by 2 inches on my bust point, and that is exactly where my wording stopped. And after I was done making the dress, it was really perfect on it. So you can just decide to come up by 2 inches on your bust point. That means that your wording will stop on your chest line. So I hope you were able to get that. So if you have not subscribed at this point, then I do not know what you're waiting for. But I assure you that if you subscribe to our channel, you will not miss out. After this video, you can check out other tutorials that we have on corsets, on bustiers, both beginner, intermediate, and advanced class. And on this channel as well, we also share tips on how you can run a profitable fashion business. So you see, there's a whole lot for you to gain. All you have to do is click that subscribe button and let's ride on. And please go ahead now and like this video so that YouTube can be able to recommend it to other tailors like you and I, so that they will also be able to watch. On the right side of this my front piece, you can see the way I am just trimming that out so that it doesn't just extend to the tip, so that I will see allowance that I will use to join it to my lining. So I am going to go ahead now and then use my hemming gum to gum this to my fabric. You also see that I added hair stay to the right side of my material, to the wrong side of my material, sorry. I added it on the front part. So after ironing it, I just went ahead to now iron that together, to sew it together. So I'm just going to notch that. The only thing I did is that I joined 3 of them together, just the way you sew your bustier. Then I'm going to go ahead now to notch that out so that you see exactly what we have. Please remember to notch so that when you turn to the right side, your clothes will not have so many bulge. It will not bulge and it will be able to relax. Are you seeing that this is already relaxing even though I've not ironed it? So you can also see that there is an extension on that particular place that is deeper on the right part. So when I'm joining my lining, I'm just going to go ahead and take that out. So right now I went ahead to bring my tailor's ham. You can see that ½ inch that I used to join this together, I am going to go ahead and open it all up and iron it down. This is the reason why when you sew clothes, it will not relax very well on your bust. When you see big designers make bustiers, it will look so perfect. So please take your time to do all this little ironing here and there. Sometimes because we skip all these things is one of the reason why our clothes comes out as if we don't really know what we are doing. So just go ahead and use ironing to iron all those half inch out. You first iron on the seam on the wrong parts. After ironing on the wrong part, then you now iron on the right side. So I'm just going to leave you to watch that and then see all I did. So I'll just use this opportunity to explain more on the online class. So our transparent corset is going to cover how to attach the bra cup, is going to cover bust cage. It also covers how you can attach the yoke to your corset and then how you can also attach it to your skill. And even another course you should also consider taking from us is the fashion business class. In this class, I'm teaching everybody how to structure their fashion business, how to position your brand so that you can be able to be profitable. Because knowing how to sew is just a skill, but making money from this fashion business is another thing. All you have to do is just click the link in the description box of this video or go to our bio. You will see a link that says reach me directly on WhatsApp, and then click that link and it will bring you to our WhatsApp. You can also consider joining our content growth calendar group, which is also on WhatsApp as well. All you have to do, click the link on WhatsApp, and when you send a message, please do not just say hi. Tell us what you want. Say something like, oh, I'm here to make inquiries about the online class. I'm here to make inquiries about the content calendar group. Something like that. So you can just click the link in our bio and then you reach us directly on WhatsApp. So you can see the way I am taking my time to mold this bustier, even though it is not a corset dress. But you can still see that I took my time to mold everything, to iron everything together. And this is going to make my bustier to lap very well when I'm wearing it. It will just lap on my bust and it will come out looking so nice and very beautiful. Iron every single thing out and make sure that it comes out beautiful and well rounded. You can also see my tailor's ham, which I made myself. Make yours too. Use pieces, scraps from the fabric you've cut, tie it together, make sure it's very strong like stone. Then you can just be using it to iron your clothes out and all of that. So you can see how that is looking. This is already perfect in my eyes, so I'm just going to go ahead and then use it like that. Are you seeing it? You can see how it is standing and how beautiful it is. So right now I've also gone ahead to join my lining as well. So you can also see that I'm placing it right side facing right side. If you sew your lining and it is not right side facing right side, lose it and resew it again. So you don't do left and right or left. So just make sure that it is just the same way my own is. Then place your lining on top of your front piece and then I'm going to go ahead and pin it all down, and then I'm going to use half inch to join it all together. You can see the way I am pinning that. So I'll just do all the pinning and then I'm going to use half inch to first join the neckline. I am going to join it down to that curve, right? That particular place that went deep on the armhole part. I'm going to join it. Then I'm also going to join it up until the other shoulder as well. So I'm just going to leave you so that you see that all by yourself. So just pay attention to the screen and you'll see every single thing that I am doing. Okay, so at this point I was already done sewing that. You can see the way I joined it, and you can see the way I am notching that particular V part, because if you don't notch it and you turn it, your lining is going to look rumpled. Even your main fabric is going to look rumpled, and then it will not look as if you didn't do a clean work. So make sure you are doing all these small things. Notch where you are supposed to notch, iron where you're supposed to iron. Don't just rush and then you are done. So make sure you notch that part and trim out the excess. I used half inch to join it, but then I'm just trimming out some excesses so that it will be able to relax very well when I turn it on my lining. And on that part where I also did that V effect on the armhole, I also did cut out the extra allowance that was on it, and I turned it. So after turning at this point, please go ahead and give this a good press. Don't just turn and then start sewing, like continue the sewing. Go ahead, iron this very well. Make sure that the neckline is well relaxed. So at this point, I'm not going to go ahead to join my back together. So I'll just join both sides together. You can decide to do this or then do any other one of your choice. So I'm just going to join right side facing right side, right side facing right side. Then I will do the same thing on the main fabric, and I'm also going to go ahead and do it on the lining as well. So, and after doing that, I'm also going to use the lining to turn the back, right? I'm going to use the lining to turn it out so that it will be ready to be joined to the front. Are you seeing how neat that thing is looking? Are you seeing how neat this is looking? So you can see my back that I've already turned. If you look at this back, you see that it has a little fold. So after sewing, I just went ahead to use my dart to just take out the fold. But I already told you what to do in that case, right? So at this point, you can just decide to join your back piece the normal way you join, which is placing the back on the part. Take your measurements, your bust measurement and waist measurement, then you join. But for me, I decided to join it on the shoulder, like fabric to fabric, lining to lining. I hope you understand that. So you just bring one tip together, make sure that the fabric is facing the fabric, and then the lining is facing the lining. Just pin it together. I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying. So that is just what you can see me trying to figure out at this part. And once I was doing that, I'm going ahead to use my pin to do that. So you join the right side, the main fabric of your back part, you join it to the front, and then you join the lining of your back part to the lining of the front at the side. So on the side, you're not going to consider the allowance that you added. As if you added 1 inch allowance on the side, you are going to join the side with 1 inch. If you added half inch, you join with half inch. If you added 1.5 inch, you join with 1.5 inch. Do you understand? So you do it on both sides. Then on the shoulder part, you are going to now sew it with just half inch. And even when you are done and the half inch is not, maybe it's not enough, you can still go ahead and shape it. But for me, I just went ahead to join it with half inch. If you are done and your client feels maybe the shoulder is not so tight, you just do your normal adjustments as a tailor. There is nothing there. So I hope by now you must have been able to understand this thing that I am saying. So I am just going to go ahead, pin these parts together, and I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and then join it together, right? So you can see that this is already looking fine. Make sure that your processes are fine. One thing someone taught me is that the reason why your clothes doesn't come out so well is because you do not pay attention to the processes. Your whole focus is on the outcome. Believe me, there is no way all your processes, your pieces, your ironing, your joining, your notching, your trimming, everything is on point and the clothes will now have a very fatal error at the end. Anywhere you're supposed to iron, you iron. You know how male tailors work. You know that very way. If they sew one thing, they will go and iron. They will sew another thing, they will go and iron. That is how you should be. If you sew one thing, you iron. You sew another thing, you iron. Anywhere you're supposed to add stay, you're supposed to add wording, you're supposed to add interfacing, please add it. Don't skip it. Charge your client so that you see money to buy all those things. And you'll notice that your clothes will start to stand out, right? Your clothes will start standing out, and even yourself, you'll be a very pro tailor and you start doing neat work. And all those ironing thing is also the reason why your clothes is going to relax well on your client's body. Do you understand? And it is also another mistake people also make is maybe on the side part they added 1 inch allowance. When they are now joining, they are now going to add just um 1 inch or half inch. They will now forget the allowance they added. So don't be that kind of tailor. So at this point, I just went ahead to cut out, like trim the armhole a little bit. I just took out about half inch so that my hand will be able to join well. And then guess something with this dress. I know you didn't see this coming, but the yoke of this dress is not joined to the dress, right? You wear the yoke like a crop top that stops at your underburst, and then you wear this clothes on top. I'll just save that for later. Let's cut the skirt first. So on the skirt part, you now decide the length of your clothes. Just minus your half length from it. Assuming your half length is 16, then it means you are going to minus 15 and a half. So you now use the half inch to join. Measure your waist to your hip. My waist to my hip is 10 inches. Then my waist to my full length as well. The full length of this dress, for you it can be up to 46, 48, but for me I used 44 because I wanted it to be a little bit shorter. Then I also went ahead to add 2 inches allowance. You can see it from my marking. And for the zip allowance on the skirt part, I also added like 2 inches, right? So I am now going to go ahead and put my hip measurements, and then I added 1 inch extra allowance. If you can work with 1 inch, add 1 inch. If you can work with 1.5 inches, add 1.5 inches, right? So then on the hemline, you can decide to minus 1.5 inches from your hemline. Maybe assuming your hip is 10, you can decide to do 8.5 on your hemline, and then you just connect it to the hip. It depends on how pencil you want it to be. It all depends on how pencil you want it to be, right? So you just then mark it straight down to your hemline. So you can see the way I did that. That is basically how you cut a skirt. And for me, I like joining my skirt in a way that you will not see the way it is joined. Like there's no allowance on the sides. I make sure that all my allowance goes to the to the zipper allowance, right? So I'll just cut that out, and I'm also going to go ahead and then cut my lining part. I'll cut my lining. The zipper allowance I added was about 2 inches. Also remember to take down about half inches from the back waist so that your zip will be able to relax. So your two back pattern, remember to take out half inch from it. I did that while I was sewing, but then I forgot to show you guys. So make sure you did that so that your zip will be able to relax. I went ahead to cut the lining. I will also go ahead to straighten that lining so that it can be well flat and well ironed, right? So right now I am now going to go ahead to join my skirt. Let me show you how I sew my own pencil skirt. You can still sew this how you sew your own. So this right here is the front. I'll now place the back on both sides. Are you seeing it? Then I'm also going to go ahead and place the other side as well. So after placing that, I am going to go ahead and use that 1 inch that I added to now join it together. You can see that there's no line in here. I will do this same thing here. and then I will also go ahead to do it on the lining. Did you see the way I joined it? So the aim is so that the lining and the main fabric is separate, but then they will be joined at the back so that it will have inseam finishing. So at this point, after joining it, you first sew it down on the hemline, right? You sew it down on the hemline and then you sew all the sides. I've already sewn it. I first sewed the down part and now dragged the lining up to the waist before I now joined it, and then I'm going to flip that. I'm going to turn it so that all the wrong side or the seam allowance goes in, and then the right side comes out as well. So you can basically see the way I am doing this. This is just a tutorial on how to make a pants skirt. Basically, you can see that we've covered that on this dress as well. Are you seeing the way the inside is looking? So when someone is seeing it, they will not even know where you joined from. So just going to run a thread on the waist part to hold the lining and the fabric. You can decide to overlock or interlock, weave basically. So you now get the mid part of your skirt and you notch that. You now bring your top part, you get the mid part as well, then you join that as well. So just mid part to mid part. Are you seeing the way I'm folding it to get the middle point? So after getting that, I'm just going to go ahead and then notch it, and I am now going to join it together. So when joining this together, do not start from the side. If you start from the center, you join to one side. You start from the other center, you join to the other side. Don't make the mistake of starting from one end. So after joining, this was what I have. You can just go ahead and weave that middle part out, or you can even join lining to lining, main fabric to main fabric. But I just decided to skip that part just in case it has any amendment. So right now, let's shape this dress. So in order to shape it, I am now going to divide my hip. You divide your hip into two, and then for my hip, I came down by about 9 inches or thereabout from the waist, and on that place I came down, I now marked my hip divided by two. Whatever I have left, I now marked it as my allowance, and what I had left was 2 inches, and 2 inches is still the same allowance that I marked on my fabric. Then I'm just going to measure about 10 inches depending on how open you want the opening to be. You can do anything as from 7, 8, 9, 10, or to even the full length. And then I just came in by about 3 inches so that it will give me a curve on my boots. Depending on how pencil, the more inside you go, the more pencil your dress is going to be. You can try to go in by 2.5, by 3, 3.5, but just know that the more inside you go on that knee part, the more it's going to be. So I'm just going to join that together, and then on this part, sorry I didn't show you, but I folded this material into four, just the way we did cut the skirt. And I am now going to use this particular lace. This is a sample lace. The particular lace that was used for the tutorial of this dress is a chantilly lace. You know, all those soft lace that is like net, that is stretched sometimes. That is the material that I will use. I will leave the link to all the materials that I used on the fabric, all the fabrics that I used. I will name it all in the description box, and then the quantities as well. So right now I'm just trying to like make a dartless top. You know, all this kind of crop top that you wear, it doesn't have any darts. You can decide to add that, but for me this one does not have that. And the length of this your crop top is going to be to your under bust. If your shoulder to under your bust is 14, then make sure that the length of this top is up to 14, right? So I just did cut that out. At this point, I'm cutting the front and the back together. You can see something like a zipper allowance on the right side. And then for me, I didn't really add any dart since this is going to be inside. And since my dress is already going to cover that as well. When I first saw this dress, I thought the yoke was joined to it. But then I took a closer look to understand that the yoke is worn separately, like it's worn as a separate something. You can even use the yoke to wear something else, maybe not together with the dress. You can also decide to wear the dress alone without the yoke, maybe if you want to show a little skin, right? So for the neck of the front, I just trimmed it out, and then you can see what we have. This is the front part. I'm just going to place the back part on it, and then I'm going to join by the side and join the shoulder as well. I also did cut out a basic sleeve, that is a long sleeve, just the way you cut your basic sleeve. So I'm going to show you that in a little while. So the allowance I added is 1 inch. So I'm just going to use that 1 inch to sew those two sides I just showed you, and then to join the shoulder as well. So guys, have you enjoyed this tutorial? Are you finding value in this video? Please, please, please go ahead and like this video. And if you found this video valuable, please leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about this video. Did you learn anything? And also, if you have a question, remember to put down your question in the comments. I'm going to reply to it. I will be here waiting for any question that you have. If you don't have a question, that is fine. So let's ride on. So at this point, you can see that I've joined the hands together, and then my back is still open. On the back, you can decide to add button, you can decide to add invisible zip, you can also decide to stitch it together so that it doesn't have any button or any zip. But while you are doing this, make sure that the neckline is wide enough so that it will pass through your hair, especially if you're not adding any button or whatever. For me, and for the purpose of this tutorial, I didn't add button. I just went ahead to join it together, right? Are you seeing the way it is? So I'll just join it and then I'll come back to show you. So remember that the link to our online class and then to our content calendar group is on the description box. And remember to also drop your questions. I will attend to it. And please, if this is your first time coming to our channel, you can consider subscribing. And then you can see the way this is already looking, right? Are you seeing the way it's looking like a crop top? So you wear this first before you now wear your main clothes on it. After I was done, this is what I have. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe. I can't wait to see you in my next tutorial. Bye.